Hello everyone and welcome back to Conway's Corner. I'm sorry that it has taken so long to get another video live. We've had a lot of stuff going around the house in real life, so I just have not really been available to sit down and record a video. Today, however, we will be doing a speculative class tier list for all of the classes in Last Epoch. Now, when I say speculative, what I mean is there's going to be a large balance patch for the game that we do not have access to the patch notes for yet. In fact, they've said we're probably not getting it until very shortly before the game launches. So I am going to be basing a lot of my rankings off of just raw speculation in what I think is going to be buffed or nerfed, as well as bug fixes. Let's go ahead and get right into this. Let's do this nice and quick. Up first, we have got the Beastmaster Primalist. Beastmaster is in a pretty good place right now. The only changes that I could really see it needing is the bear needs to be buffed. Summon bear needs to get buffed, as wolves are in a good spot, especially once you get squirrels if you're going with wolves. Scorpion is in a great place. Raptor's in a good place. Sabertooth is in a decent place. Really, the bear is the odd one out. And I think that Beastmaster is a solid A. Up next, we have got the Blade Dancer. Blade Dancer, I'm going to go ahead and put in B tier. Simply because it doesn't really have a lot going for it, and I don't think that Falconer is going to be giving it much of anything. Flurry and Puncture both are not in the best places. In terms of a main damage skill. Sync Strike isn't great for it. Really, the big Blade Dancer build is what? Like Umbral Blades? Obviously, Shadow Daggers is phenomenal, and any build for Blade Dancer is going to be taking advantage of Shadow Daggers, but I think that is less to do with the power of Blade Dancer as it is the power of Shadow Daggers. I think that it's still solid. There's nothing that really makes it bad. It's just not as good as the things that are going to be higher than it on the tier list. Next up, though, Druid Primalist. Druid is our first S tier. Werebear is incredibly strong, it is incredibly tanky, it is incredibly fun. Swarmblade is really cool, it's interesting, it's different, especially if you are playing like a Frostbite Tornado Swarmblade. Super interesting. Obviously, Bleed is still very good, even with most of the Bleed builds having caught nerfs. It honestly wouldn't surprise me if Bleed gets nerfed again for 1.0, but I definitely think that Druid deserves to be in S tier. Up next is the Falconer. I think Falconer is going to be an A tier. I think that a lot of its skill tree and its new skills are actually really big boons for both Marksman and Blade Dancer. However, without really knowing how good the Falcon itself is going to be, it's really hard to say. A lot of its kit seems to be designed around the Falcon. Obviously, I mean, Falconry as its mastery skill, and then you've got Dive Bomb and was it Winged Assault, I think is the name of the other one. However, I think that there's some really interesting design space in here with Falconer going with Spear and like Net and Puncture. I'll have a couple of speculative builds up for the Falconer, but I think that Falconer is going to be best when either playing with a spear or going heavy into throwing attacks and throwing damage. There's nothing in there that I saw that would really put it into S tier, but it definitely looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. It definitely looks like it's going to be actually pretty good. And if it wasn't for Falconer, I would honestly potentially put both Blade Dancer and Marksman, which we will get to, in a much lower tier. Speaking of going into lower tiers, though, Forge Guard. I know Forge Guard is high on their priority list of classes to get reworks and some mechanical changes, but as it stands right now, Forge Guard just is not in a good place. I think that going Void Knight or Paladin is going to suit you a lot better than going Forge Guard. So I gotta give it D tier, and I'm gonna say, spoilers, it's going to be the only class in D tier. Up next is Lich. I'm really torn on Lich. Really, the big question isn't how good is Lich, it's how good is Death Seal, because all of Lich's power budget is in Death Seal, and I don't think that it's good design. Obviously, Lich is very strong. If you go look at the ladder right now, you'll see Lich is taking up most of the ladder, at least it was last time I looked. And that's mostly off the back of Death Seal. I do think that if they nerf or change Death Seal, I think that Lich is going to drop. But as it stands right now, I think Lich is probably in the A tier. I think that Death Seal is in the S tier, but I think that Death Seal is probably going to get taken down a peg, and it'll drop down to the A tier. Up next is Marksman. Marksman, I think, is actually going to be moving up in the rankings off of the back of Explosive Trap from Falconer. Explosive Trap is a massive boon to the Marksman in that it gives us another way to proc and spam detonating arrows. We've also got like Rain of Arrows, except, it's all explosive traps. I think that actually Falconer has really helped Marksman. I also think that they are going to be fixing the issues that bows currently have in the game with the arrows not actually hitting targets. So I think that with both of those, I definitely see Marksman going up to B tier and potentially A tier, but I'm unsure yet. Up next is the Necro, though. Necro, I think, is a solid B tier. I think that at the higher end, the skeletons and skeleton mages are not as good as the Beastmaster's pets. However, there's still a lot of shenanigans to play around with in Necro. I'm torn. I kind of want to put it in A tier. But I think that it's probably like top of B or bottom of A tier. Up next, though, Paladin. Paladin is our second S tier. Hammerden is great. I think that with the multiplayer changes and improvements, I think that everybody's going to want to have a Paladin in their party just because of Holy Aura it's just such a strong skill. It's so good. The fact that it applies to all of your allies and doesn't really have a range requirement just makes its power incredible in multiplayer and even in single player. Devotion hammered in is phenomenal. Judgment is a blast to play. Javelin is pretty decent. Spin to Win, obviously incredible, whether you're playing Bleed or Ignite, is still a great build. And Paladin is kind of the best at taking advantage of Warpath. I think it should come as no surprise that I'm going to put Paladin in the S tier. Moving right along, though, we have got the Rune Master. And I think that Rune Master is going to be nerfed. I don't see Rune Master not getting nerfed. So I'm going to put it in A tier, anticipating nerfs. Now, if they don't nerf it, it's S tier. but I think that with the nerfs that I think are going to be coming for it, it is going to be A tier. Up next is Shaman. It's hard to say anything about Shaman, really. I'm going to put Shaman in B tier. Shaman is getting reworked for 1.0, unless they have said that it's not coming on release, in which case it'd go down to D tier. But I think that with the reworks and changes and buffs coming to Shaman, I got to put it in B tier. I don't think I could put it higher because we don't know, right? We haven't seen what they're doing. So I think B tier is going to be the safe play. Sorcerer. Sorcerer's C tier. Unfortunately, it's in a bad place right now. It really doesn't have any class identity anymore now that Runemaster has come out. I thought that Runemaster was going to be either void damage focused or like kind of trap based. And it turns out that it's just a sorcerer on meth. So unfortunately, Sorcerer is not doing great, really, unless you're trying to play Meteor. Just play Runemaster, and even then, I mean, you could put Harbinger of Stars in your belt slot and have a chance on crit to cast Meteors anyways. So I kind of even want to put it in D, but Meteor is a good button to press. So is Black Hole, although Black Hole is realistically just a Meteor delivery device. So I think C tier. It can output more damage than Forge Guard and has access to better movement tech in teleport than Forge Guard, which is the only reason I'm putting it in C tier. Spellblade is up next. Spellblade is another S tier. Like, if you haven't played like a Ward Generator Shatterstrike build, I highly encourage you to check it out and play it. It'll make you change your mind if you think Spellblade isn't good. The other build that I would recommend is Dreadful's Static Spellblade is actually very strong. I've been playing that a bunch, and it rips. Flame Reeve definitely needs a buff. Fire Aura is a trap, but if you are trying to like just blast and be incredibly defensive, play a Spellblade. It's S tier. Last two, we've got Void Knight up next. Void Knight is B tier. Void Knight used to be incredible, but unfortunately it has been nerfed multiple times. It's gotten actually several undeserved nerfs. It's gotten some deserved nerfs, but a lot of them were undeserved, and I don't think they're going to be buffing it anytime soon. So I think that it is a solid B tier. Last but not least, we have Warlock. Looking over the Warlock skill tree and its new skills, I think that it would be unfair of me to put Warlock in anything less than S tier. Especially because Mad Alchemist's Ladle is in the game, and Mad Alchemist's Ladle is going to let Warlock really go nuts with all of the curses and curse synergies, because the curses count as ailments, which is, you know, more damage because of Mad Alchemist's Ladle. It's probably what I'm going to be playing on release. It's either going to be that or Falconer, just to try out the new stuff. And I think that's going to be it for today's video. I mean, I guess we could go ahead. I think that it's going to, realistically, I think... Oh no, that's Paladin. I'm torn whether Druid is better than Spellblade. I play both. I have both at, you know, very high levels. Like, they're both of mine are in the 90s. I just haven't gotten around to you know, finishing off my Werebear or my Spellblade. I think like this, because a lot of the defenses that Druid has, while good, just don't beat out having 20k plus ward off of Shatterstrike. In here, I think realistically, it's going to look like this. I think Necro, I'm going to put Marksman ahead of Blade Dancer. I think that is how I would arrange it within the tiers themselves. Of course, this is all subject to change with what actually happens in the buffs and nerfs. But that is all from me for today. Please like, comment, and subscribe. If you agree, if you disagree, let me know. Also, I stream on Twitch over at twitch.tv/NoWayLikeConway. You'll find the link in the description down below. Up next, I have got speculative Warlock and Falconer builds that are going to be, and I'll show them off just a little bit here. I'm not going to show any of the masteries, but I have got these videos coming down the pipeline. They should be out within the next couple of days. I know I said that last time, but I actually mean it this time because I'm going to edit all of these videos as soon as I finish recording this and have them out. Thank you guys so much, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.